The worst year for a lot of us for our mental as well as physical health. So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach, and fitness expert, Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless, and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disrupted: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance. This is your chance where I sit down with today's tops in business, mindset, wellness, and success to help you master disruption and thrive.
Thanks for coming, and I'll see you soon.
Please welcome to the podcast the founder and chief inspiration officer of Bo Digital. His expertise in website creation, email marketing, social media, and design has propelled countless small businesses to new heights. Under his leadership, Bo Digital was named one of the best places to work in Indiana 2023. He's received an exemplary leadership award and was recognized as a 2023 marketing leader by Housing Wire, an expert in marketing, social media, communication, remote work, and office culture. Please welcome to the podcast, Wayne Stanley.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. Good to be here.
I am so thrilled to have you here in this digital age and remote work. I want to jump right into the topics and get some of your ninja strategies on how can we unlock the power of remote work.
Oh man, it's hard for some folks. I think for me, the bedrock of remote work is trust. And that's where I think a lot of employers fall short and can't quite figure this out. And that's because they don't trust their teams to get the work done. And that's a huge part is you have to figure out how to, if you don't have the trust, what systems are you going to put in place so that you can have the trust that the work is getting done and that people are being as productive and efficient as they can be.
Well, yeah, I mean, do you have to have some kind of KPIs and team meetings on a regular basis just to make sure that your vision as a leader is going to be carried out with your remote teams?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we communicate with purpose is what I like to say a lot. And so we do a lot of our communication. We've been fully remote from our inception. We've been in business for over 7 years. And so we were remote starting in 2017. We were using Zoom way back then, and our customers didn't understand it. They didn't know what Zoom was. But internally, we did video calls all the time. We wanted people to still feel connected to each other. And so even though it might be annoying or for the Gen Zs and all of that that didn't want to do phone calls or face to face, they'd rather just text. It was important so that people could hear each other and understand what was happening. And so whenever we have a new goal or vision or anything for the company, we make sure that it's video based so that people really understand the why of what we're doing. And that's how we check in and do everything. The connection is just as important as the trust.
I totally agree with you. I feel like connection is currency, and it's too bad if you want to connect by text because I feel like there's so many miscommunications that happen that way.
I know. I think there's a place for it. Like once you've got the relationship, sure, you can communicate much more via text. But even people that are close, my parents have texted me for all these years now, and there's still sometimes I'll get something and I'm like, "Are you mad?" Let alone our other relationships, significant others and all that kind of stuff. Like even the people that you know best in your life, you can still misread a text message. So we have a rule in our company that you never read emotion through text or email. And the best way to do that is to just avoid it and pick up the phone or create a video and really try to connect with somebody. Don't just text them.
There's so much to unpack there. I feel like communication is a cornerstone of all relationships, yet relationships are difficult. And I feel for me, even in a personal relationship, I would say text is good for strategic stuff, but if it's like one of those, like I'm having a problem with you thing, definitely pick up the phone.
Yeah, I think I said recently, and I think I'm going to start using this more, but texts are for to-dos, like this is for like the list and your to-dos of what needs to happen. And anything else when you need help, when you're trying to unravel a problem or to get to the bottom of something, you've got to have more of a conversation, and you just can't do that the same way through text.
Awesome. I love that. And moving on to another topic, is there a new way to do email marketing where people actually like be excited to hear from you and open your emails?
My number one rule for email marketing is don't be salesy all the time. I think that's where people get fatigue from those emails, whether you are selling a product or a service or you are business to consumer or business to business, it doesn't matter. Some people where they fail is they're constantly use me, use me, use me, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product. And that's where it gets stale and stuffy and old. I think that where you see success in email marketing these days is when you've got content that matters to your audience. And that may mean that sometimes it's not content that is directly related to your product or service. You've got to make sure that you're, again, back to the connection, you've got to connect with them on things that matter in their life beyond whatever your product or service is. So it's not necessarily something new as far as the technology goes for marketing emails or something like that, but thinking about that subject matter and the content that you're putting out differently is what is most important.
Okay, that's good to know. So is there any kind of a formula? Let's say if you're going to email like 5 times a week or 3 times a week, where you do like a value post and then you do a offer and then you do another value post or anything like that that you could suggest for our audience?
Sure, I think that the equation looks a little different for every business and every person, like all things in life. But we try to talk about how 75% of what you're doing, so regardless of how often you post, because for some, one marketing email a week is enough. For some, they need to be doing one a day. For some, it's much more than that. Who knows? But 75% of your content should be the relational type of content, the stuff that matters to them, and 25% or less should be the sell because you got to get them and captivate them and whatever, encourage them, educate them, whatever it may be. You're doing those things 75% of the time. And then 25% of the time, you're saying, and I have this tool that can help. I have this product that you should buy. I have this thing that you can't live without. That's how you really get them to then be a longtime customer because you've already shown them benefit beyond them opening their wallet to you.
Wow, that is such value bombs. I hope you guys are taking notes. I certainly am. And how can we master the art of story and branding if we want to captivate with brand stories?
Yeah, the story piece is hard for a lot of folks. We'll go into a new customer's office and we'll say, we've been charged with helping create a more, I like to say, we're not, for most companies that have been around for a while, we're not necessarily creating a new story. What you've been doing is important. Your history is important. It's not really that your story is bad or that you need a new one. I like to talk about how you need a more efficient and a more effective story in today's world. And some people often mistake their story with their mission. Why you get out of bed and why you do what you do every day is not the same thing as your story. Your mission that you created when you created your company, whether that was 100 years ago or 10 minutes ago, is always the same, right? Like why you're doing it, that mission is important and you shouldn't forget it. It is bedrock for your company. But your story should ebb and flow as your company ebbs and flows. Like we're not, my story for Bo Digital isn't the same from what we were in 2018 to what we were in February of 2020 to June of 2020. The story was very different. To fast forward to today, that story should move with you. And like every good story, it's got chapters. It's got a beginning, a middle, and the end isn't really the end of the company. It's what are you doing forward facing for the next chapter? And so really figuring out that piece for yourself is step one. Step two of that story process is so often people create their story in a vacuum. A lot of marketing is I say a lot that it's sort of a vanity exercise for a lot of people. It's what do I want to talk about? What do I want the business to be about? What do I want people to think about us? when you're creating your story, you also have to ask your customers, ask people that know and love you why they love you, because that you want other people to love the same thing. So you can say we want to include these three things in our story internally, but if your customers have three totally different things, you need to figure out how to either combine that or revise completely what you thought was important to make that part of your story. Because again, it's not about you, it's about the perception that your current customers have and what you want future customers have so that you can continue to grow that base.
Well, is there like a short example you could use of your story? Because I know it is said that people don't really care about you. Like if you're speaking, like if you're telling, oh, this happened to me, unless it ties back to them. So do you have
Sure.
any examples of a good story?
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to own my own business one day. When I was young, I would go to my grandparents' house and I would put a tablecloth on the couch and I would go around the house and I would take all of their belongings and I would set up a little store on the couch and I would make them buy back their own things. Then, when it came time where I sort of felt like I was in the right stage of life to create Bo Digital and launch it, I knew that marketing was my passion. I knew that I wanted to help small businesses. And when I was thinking about what to name the company, it came back to that story of how did I know that I wanted to be a small business owner? How did I know that I wanted to market? And what was that story going to be? My grandparents that I sold their stuff on their couch were Glenn and Shirley Vernon Bow was their last name. And so when it came time to name the company, it made sense to name it after my grandparents. They were two of the last Bows in the family. So it was a nice way to honor their legacy, but also to not make it specifically about me as we went forward. It was more about helping other family businesses and stuff like that. And so that's how Bow Digital came to be. It also allowed us to do a lot of puns with, when your marketing needs a pro, put a bow on it, that kind of stuff. But that story of being able to tie in something from my childhood that led to where I'm at today that also includes my family is very important to not only our story as a company, but also our values as a company.
Well, I knew if anyone could tell a good story that you could, and that did not disappoint. It's very meaningful and powerful when you tie it back to your story and your grandparents. A very, very good example. Thank you for sharing that. Obviously, it's authentic. So if it wasn't, it wouldn't matter at all. And last topic I wanted to talk to you about, since you're so, adept at this remote work stuff, is okay, everything's changed in the last 4 years. How can we create a better office culture?
Oh, a better office culture. I think a big trend for small businesses, this is harder if you have 50 or more employees, I would say. But for a lot of small businesses, a big trend is really rethinking your benefits, not being in such a box for what you offer your team and your employees. For some, I talk a lot about intangible benefits or benefits that matter in a huge way to my team that aren't financial. So, for example, our team, because I work with all creatives, there are some of them that listen to Spotify every single day. And so
Right.
we pay for them to have commercial-free Spotify accounts. For the company, it's $100 a year, but for them, it means the world that we gave them a better experience during the workday. That is something so small and tiny, but for others, they may healthcare programs and 401k and all that kind of stuff, but really trying to personalize benefits for people and not just benefits, but we hear so often, the so many companies are immovable in their we start at 9, so we expect you to be here at 9. But if you've got if a majority of your team is younger and they're trying to get kids off to school, would it really hurt that much if you told them specifically that they could start at 9:30? That kind of stuff. It sounds small and insignificant, but that really moves the needle where they're like, you have no idea how much it takes off of my shoulders to know that I've got 30 extra minutes to get the kids and the family out the door in the morning. And so that kind of stuff I think is super important as far as culture goes. But I also think that you have to connect with your team in a deeper way. And people make fun of pizza parties and like the nap pods that Google has and all of that kind of stuff. And I think it's more about showing your team that you care. And like I say that we're a family company, and I say that everybody's personal time is important to them, whether they are married or not, whether they have kids or not. Like everybody is individually important, and so you have to put your money where your mouth is. You have to show that that's the case. And so when somebody has something going on in their life, whether it's good or bad, we want to support them. We want to show them that if they're doing something with their kid, we need to leave them space to do that. If they've got something happening in their family, we want to support them when they're able to do that. I think that we do a lot of stuff too where we can have our team have their families together. So we do every year we in the summer we rent out a suite at the baseball stadium in Indianapolis, and everybody gets to bring their entire family, all the kids, everybody, and come and watch a baseball game with fireworks that night. And we have food for them, and everybody just really loves being able to hang out and have that fellowship together and not talk about work and that sort of thing. And we can't say that we're a family company and that we support families if we don't literally do it. And I think that's where a lot of companies fall short with that kind of stuff in their culture. Is it's one thing to paint it on the wall or to have a t-shirt made that says it, but if you're not living it, then you've got to readjust what you're doing. And I think that for a lot of companies, they just have to take a step back to see, are we really, we're saying this, but are we actually living what we're saying?
And that's another thing that comes back to authenticity. I mean, if you're going to say my values are this, and then somebody's parent gets sick, their kid gets sick, and you're like, well, we're on deadline,
Exactly.
then people are, yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that we had that. I was trying to think through a few years ago of how we have a younger team, and I was like, I can't always compete on price in terms of salary because we are still a smaller company, but I want them to stay at Bo Digital for a long time, and I want them to feel like they've got. I don't really believe in work-life balance. I talk about it more as work-life integration, and I
Right.
know that the majority of people work to live, not vice versa. And so how did I was like, what can we do to really show that that is bedrock to what we are as a company? And what we ended up doing because of that is we adopted a 4-day work week. We only work Monday through Thursday. We have Fridays off. Everybody on the team has Fridays off. And that was hugely important to us as a not only a benefit to our employees, but just part of our culture that we believe that if you work smarter Monday through Thursday to get your work done, to still be a great resource for our customers, that you're able to have that extra day that is can be invaluable to you in terms of what you're trying to do in your personal life. And that was another way that we were trying to show we really want to make this investment in you as a teammate of ours. And here's a huge way that we're willing to do that.
That is so huge. I mean, I hope you guys in the audience are listening because if quiet quitting is an issue, who wouldn't want a 4-day work week, even if they were 10-hour days? It still gives
Exactly.
you that work-life integration that is so important. Any final words you want to leave our audience with on being unstoppable in the digital world?
No, I think the best part about the digital space is that it's hard to mess up, unless you're saying something really crazy or off the wall. Don't be afraid to take chances and take risks because you never know what's going to pay off for your organization. And I know some of you may be listening from companies that are way larger than others, and some of you may have smaller budgets than others, and who knows what, but figure out what works for you. You don't have to. One of my favorite marketing books is called Get Scrappy, and it's all about how you might have envy that you don't have the marketing budget of Coca-Cola or Walmart or Amazon, but you do have all the time in the world, and you're able to think differently and make your company what you want it to be. And so, don't feel like you're boxed in and you can't take chances because you definitely can. And we have more resources at our fingertips than ever before. So, get a little messy with what you're trying to do.
Get scrappy, you guys. I love it. Wayne Stanley, Bo Digital. Where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram with Wayne Stanley. And then you can go to our website, BOWE Digital. That's bodigital.com. And we'd love to connect with anyone.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, Lisa.